Hello people. Today I want to view Jobless Reincarnation, an anime that I enjoy very much. But before we get started, we should get started in a little bit of video structure. There are going to be 3 sections. A spoiler-free section, a spoiler section, and then a section where I phone a friend. During the spoiler-free section, we're going to go over vague topics about the show, like world building, characters, in a vague way that can let you know if you're going to enjoy the show or not. And in the spoiler section, I want to go over the show in a more specific manner so that people that have seen the show, we can have a little bit of a discussion about what we like and don't like. And the phone a friend is so I can get different opinions. So let's get started on Mushoku Tensei. I think it's probably best to talk about the elephant in the room, the fan service. So the fan service is kind of a sticky subject. If you're sensitive to fan service, I'm not sure if this is the show for you. But if you're able to handle it and get through it, at episode 12, it dramatically decreases. And in my opinion, the fan service is a storytelling tool. I know it's going to sound fucking weird, but if you're willing to trust me here, watch it. Get through it, and you'll be thanking me. The show is divided into 2 parts. They call it 1 season, but it's like 2 seasons, kind of. The first 11 episodes is part 1, and it's largely like build up. It's kind of like a slow burn. They don't really like. They take their time, and they're more deliberate with how they like put things in. And in the second half, the quality jumps. There's more action. It's a lot more payoff. There's a lot of development. And that's really when the show tends to pick up, in my opinion. If you find the first half boring, but you still like think there might be something there, I think it might be worth watching the second half. The world building in the show is immaculate, and that's coming from a dungeon master. It's silent. They'll have an introduction shot for the area, and then have the characters interacting with people, and it will show you the type of people that are there, what kind of like economy they kind of have, how they interact with each other, may show like how the people think of each other without saying anything. And it's just really good in my opinion. This show being the grandfather of like the isekai tropes, I was kind of skeptical at first, but it's like everything is more than the trope. They have the red hair tsundere, and she becomes more than the red hair tsundere. All the tropes they build on, and it's not just lazy, here's the trope. They take the trope and then surpass it. And it just seems like other isekai kind of just like stopped at the trope. The opening credits are done very well, in my opinion. They use it as like part of the show. It's not just like, oh, here's like a minute 20 clip of a bunch of scenes that we're showing off on. And I prefer it that way. I find that OPs kind of spoil things. If you watch anime a lot, then you can kind of like, oh, that guy's gonna die. We saw him in the OP. And I really enjoy that it's like overlaid on the show, and they often do world building during this section and show us like the area that we're going to be like in. A thing that's very important to me in these kinds of shows is the power scaling. I really get taken out of a show when the power scaling goes like bananas very quickly. So the main character obviously gets kind of OP, but the power scaling of the other people doesn't get particularly nuts except for like one person. So if you're worried about the power scaling like I am for shows, it isn't like abused in this series. And the last thing I want to talk about for this is the character progression. I'm not going to say anything specific. I'm not going to say anything spoiler, but the pair progression is fucking awesome in this show. There's so much payoff. It's emotional. It's realistic. And it's just so like, it just makes you feel good. It makes you want to go, yeah, when like somebody accomplishes something, because you feel like you were there, dude. And if you don't know, I think you should watch the show. If you can get past the fan service, it's great. If you think the first half is boring, then watch the second half. The world building is great. It surpasses all the tropes. The music is great. The OP is nice. The power scaling is there. And the character progression is all there. I think this show is definitely worth a watch. It is one of my favorite anime. I am honestly go back and forth if I like it more than Full Metal Alchemist, but we're going to have to see how the show ends before I make a decision like that. Well, we're going to start the spoiler section, so all of you lame people better leave. Here in the spoiler section, I wanted to talk about some more specifics that I enjoyed about the show. I find it very interesting how this character like has trauma from his past life, and he actually has to deal with it in this life. Like the first, like, I don't know, like 5-6 episodes, he's like not willing to go outside because of what happened to him in his past life, where he got stripped naked and tied up to a fucking gate. Like, and it's very interesting because like in isekai, it's usually like, cool, I'm here, I'm gonna be a dickhead and do whatever I want. But he has to like change and adjust to this place and grow as a person, not only in power, but as a person. And like pretty early on, you get shown like how good the characters are. Like Roxy, you get the seeds planted for her character arc, and Roxy's an interesting character with how like she's a demon, and then like how she can't use telepathy like the other mid-grads, and she is afraid to talk to her family, and how she's an adventurer, and she surpasses the trope of like girl who looks 14 and is 400 years old. Like, it isn't like just that creepy trope. It's more than that. They take that trope and they turn it into a real character. Another part of the show I really enjoyed was with Eris. I really enjoyed seeing Eris become less of a loose cannon, more of a developed character. And she's not just like a piece of ass on the show. She has agency. She does things that she wants to do. She goes off without Rudis. And at the end, she leaves Rudis because she feels like she's too dependent on him. And it's just really good to see a female character in a show that's an actual character, not just a piece of ass or like something for just like a demographic, like being like, oh, we have a woman in here. It's like an actual character that makes decisions, makes the show better. I think the show would be worse without Eris. Overall, when you look at the two parts, the second part is so much better. You have like the Beastmen village, the Paul and Rudis meetup, the Roxy meetup with her family, the rescue of Asha, like the Turning Point 2, dude. That fight was freaking awesome. And I heard it gets fucking insane when you get to like Turning Point 4 or 5, dude. I cannot freaking wait for the show to continue, dude. I even bought the light novels, dude. I can't freaking wait. Episode 22 and 23 were some of the best episodes of anime I've ever seen. It shows that the characters are independent of Rudis, and it shows true growth. Rudis is able to get out of the depressive state that he was in his past life, and not only that, but he realizes this isn't a fucking game. He needs to find his mom and fucking save her because he fucking loves her. And after that, dude, the OVA is good, and I can tell why they didn't like put that in the show, because it would have been weird to like introduce Cliff and then him be MIA. I heard he has a lot more presence in the following seasons. And that fight scene was so good. And kind of ruthless. I really, really liked when the series was coming to a close, how they took that like explosive, exciting song that brings out all that, at least for me, brings out all the emotion, like that opening song, and they slow it down in less of like an explosion of energy and more of like a lullaby. Another thing this series does so freaking well are the fights. You can follow them. It isn't just we're going so fast you can't even see us. It's like all the fights are followable, they're choreographed well, and they're animated so well. My personal favorite character was Ruijerd, the Spurred. They build this motherfucker up the whole show. They talk about how he was a candidate for one of the 7 strongest people in the world. He destroys people all the time. He like he's like no hesitations, like, I'm gonna storm a castle. You want to storm a castle? And then he's like disappointed that he doesn't get to do it. And then when he fights the dragon god and he's fucking fighting for his life, dude, full on screaming, going beast mode, and he gets his ass kicked in like 9 seconds. Like, and I don't know what specifically made that good, but that felt good to me. It didn't feel like, oh, they're just making this guy powerful to make the dragon god powerful. I don't know why it didn't feel like that, but it felt like real, and it didn't feel like they were just trying to type up the Dragon God. They were hyping up both of them, to me at least. I'm really interested to see how Rudis ends up deciding between the RGB waifus, because he seems to really like Eris, and he spends so much more time with Eris than Roxy and Sylphie. And maybe with her leaving, he's going to end up going to Roxy and like simping for her for a few years and then simping to Sylphie. I don't know. I'm really excited to see where like the next season goes, because he's currently alone. He doesn't have Ruijerd or Eris, and he needs to go look for his mom. And I wonder if the next series is going to be like him, the next season is going to be him growing on his own, or if he's going to get like Roxy to help him. Like maybe they end up like, because she knows where his mom is now, and he's going to try looking for some. Maybe they meet up and then they find all of them together, or maybe he finds Sylphie on the way. Who knows? I really, really wonder where the show is going to go. Oh, and now we're going to get to the phone a friend section. See you guys later.
Howdy.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
How's it going, partner?
Not too bad.
So going into the show, Garrett, what were you thinking?
Going into the show, I wasn't expecting too much of it. You did vouch for it, so I was willing to go through with it. But isekais to me don't really interest me. They tend to be power fantasies, so wasn't expecting too much going in.
So what isekai have you seen, Garrett?
The more well-known ones like SEO, Overlord, Konosuba, No Game No Life, just the shows that have more interesting depth to them, and not more of like the, I guess, more modern ones that tend to pander to certain audiences. So yeah.
Yeah, you're not out here watching Stuck in Another World with a Smartphone.
Yeah. No. So some of those titles get so ridiculous, dude.
And did you have any like expectations in particular when you're going into Jobless Reincarnation?
I mean, from what you told me about fan service, yeah, I was expecting a lot of that, and they were met. But no, not really. I didn't have expectations of how deep the intricacies of the character development would be. No.
And what do you think of like the magic in like the world? Did you feel like it was like pretty good? I
thought it was pretty cool, because usually it's never described in the sense that you need to like exercise your magic powers to get better magic or just have more mana reserve. So I liked that aspect of it. It seems sort of like an exercising type of thing. So I found that pretty interesting.
Yeah, I've always liked magic systems like that. Like they treat it like a muscle.
Exactly, yeah. And that some people are just like gifted with specific powers or certain abilities, like the main character.
Overall, what do you think of the character progression in the show of like all the characters?
It doesn't get too deep right in the beginning, but the character progression in the show did surprise me as it went on. It's very deep and intricate, in my opinion. They do a really good job with overcoming character flaws. Essentially, is like the main perspective of the show.
Does any particular like character and their progression stand out to you?
I liked Paul and Rogier, I think his name is, the Stupid.
Spurred, yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting more one-dimensional sort of characters for them, and that they went a lot further than I thought with them. And yeah, those two stood out because of how severe their flaws were and how much it took to actually overcome them. I thought that was really cool.
And what do you think of the secondary cast? So anybody who's not Eris, Ruijerd, or Rudis?
There's some that stood out. They were pretty good. Some were for like comedic relief, but there's a lot of comedic relief in the show. I don't know. The side characters weren't as deep, but they definitely served a purpose in the overall story.
Do you have like what's your favorite and least favorite episode of the series so far?
The best one for me personally is the Rijerd versus what was it? The
Turning Point 2.
Yeah, that fight was just amazing in terms of just choreography and animation. That's what really gets me. And the least favorite episode, I don't exactly remember the context of it too much, but it did end with a very steamy sexual scene between the main character and the chick with the red hair.
Yeah,
that people know what I'm talking about.
100%. And
that's like, if it wasn't for your vouching of the show, if I were to watch it on my own, I probably would have dropped it right there.
100%. Would you recommend this show?
Yeah, I would recommend it to someone who has interest in anime. I would say, like, definitely not to a first-time viewer. No.
100%. And now the most pressing question: best girl.
Best girl. Let's see.
It could be any girl. It doesn't have to be the RGB waifus. It could be any girl.
I'm trying to remember what other girls there were besides the RGBs.
So there's Lilia, Gishlane, Zenith, I think that's about it for like main females.
Yeah, I liked Roxy. I guess she seems more of like a chilled out character in this story for me, and I don't know. I'm not into like the super tsundere character or the cutesy shy girl. Roxy seems just chilled and laid back, so I found her to be an interesting character.
I really like Lilia. I think her character design is really good.
Yeah,
seems like an interesting character. You have any closing thoughts or comments about the show?
I, as a fan of Berserk, Vinland Saga, and Vagabond, have been incredibly surprised and impressed by the character development of the show. I would say if you're interested in it, I would definitely watch it, and don't let the fan service cloud your opinion about how good the show can be, and just stick through it. Promise. Just trust me.
100%. Thank you for stopping by and giving us your thoughts.
No problem.